Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. Once again, we are going to talk about RS2477. We have many times on the County Seat, and even during the 12-year history of our recreation show, At Your Leisure, it has been a topic of discussion many times. But something different has happened in RS2477 in Juab County, and that will be the topic of our discussion today. But first, for those of you who may have been living under a rock for the last decade, once again we want to talk about RS2477, what it is, and the process that counties get a title to their road. Here with that report is Derek Dowsett.
Approximately 130 miles west of Nephi lies the remote town of Callao, population 40. Callao is a literal oasis in the middle of a vast desert, where the Deep Creek Mountains shoot straight up in the otherwise flat expanse. The contrast of topography is what actually makes survival possible in this unlikely location.
It's a watershed for the people that live out here. Without that mountain, they wouldn't be here. There wouldn't be the water here to raise their crops, so it's really important. For recreation, for those of us who know the area, there's good hunting. There's areas up there every bit as pretty as Mount Nebo or Timpanogos.
There are cattle that run up there. Those are resources, access to water points, irrigation diversion sites, and those were all absolutely critical to the development of this area.
In a quiet and incredibly remote place like Callao, you would think controversy was as far away as the interstate. But that hasn't been the case. Nearly 70,000 acres of the Deep Creek Mountains are designated as a wilderness study area. In 2005, Juab County claimed ownership of the existing roads in the wilderness study area as RS2477 rights-of-way, and filed a lawsuit to claim quiet title while preparing for a fight with environmental groups. RS2477 rights-of-way were granted to any road across public lands that were in existence 10 years prior to 1976. The lawsuit was settled on August 30th of this year when the Federal District Court of Utah concluded proceedings on an agreement recognizing 3 historic rights-of-way claimed by the state and Juab County. This established the roads into Granite Canyon, Trout Canyon, and Tom's Canyon as RS2477 rights-of-way. The agreement is a first of its kind for a couple reasons.
This case started as litigation, but turned into a settlement discussion and ultimately a settlement agreement. Second, it's unique because it involves the federal government agreeing to adjust the boundary of an wilderness study area, to our knowledge the first time they've agreed to do that, to recognize a road.
Press releases from both the Bureau of Land Management and the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance indicate that after the success of this particular agreement, that there is hope for future good faith negotiations to bring resolution to the remaining lawsuits over RS2477 rights-of-way. For the County Seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
Thanks, Derek. We decided for our roundtable today it would be a nice thing to bring the original parties that were part of this landmark decision together. So we have invited the Bureau of Land Management, Juab County, and the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance to the table. Unfortunately, SUA has declined to participate. But we will carry on the discussion when we come back here on the County Seat.
Carbon County is typically known for its industry and coal production, but that's not all. Utah's Castle Country has something for everyone. Carbon Country Club Golf Course, with 18 great holes of perfectly manicured fairways and pristine greens, is second to none. And with 4 sets of tees, the whole family can enjoy our golf course. Plus, if you hit it bad enough, you might even find some Indian pictographs hidden in the cliffs above the 18th hole. Visit castlecountry.com for more info.
If you're looking for the center of the universe, well, good luck. Now, if you're looking for the center of the off-road universe, look no further than Piute County. Hundreds of miles of trails turn your day of riding into a week, maybe even a month. Heck, a lifetime wouldn't be enough. Take off right from downtown Marysville or Circleville and experience fall colors that rival the most famous destinations in the world. There will never be a better time to ride the Piute Trail than right now. Explore Piute County and discover the magic and beauty of the land where the rainbow ends.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Welcome back to the county seat. Today we are talking about the new decision on roads, RS2477 roads out in Juab County. Joining us for our discussion today, Glenn Greenhall, who is the Public Lands Director for Juab County, Commissioner Chad Wynn, who is a commissioner from Juab County, and the State Director of the Bureau of Land Management for the state of Utah, Juan Palma. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. There has been a set of legal cases that has set the path in the past for RS2477, and this decision kind of goes in a different direction with that. What has been the criteria, Director Palma, that the agency has been instructed that has to set a road as a road before it can be recognized?
Well, RS2477, as you mentioned, Chad, is a legal question, and one of those point of a legal question is that a road must have existed prior to 1976, and it must have been in use for at least 10 years prior to 1976. So we have to prove that as a fact. And so that's one of the components of the RS2477. In this case of Juab County, we were able to work together with many parties and principals. The Department of Justice was our voice that we were able to go to court and do a settlement on these roads in Juab County, specifically the portion of Juab County that is in the area of the Deep Creek Mountains. So the discussion of the scope of this question is within the Deep Creek Mountains in Juab County.
Most of the other cases where RS2477 have come about, they've actually been litigated, and they were actually not just a record of decision and a settlement. These were litigated and adjudicated cases. And this kind of took a different tack, did it not?
If you can honestly communicate, you can often solve problems. And that's what we've tried to do on this road. The state of Utah was the lead for attorneys for Juab County. A number of years ago, a bill was passed into the legislature that gave the state of Utah ownership interest in the roads, which means they have standing to do so. And so we were prepared to litigate if we had to, but we were also prepared to try to negotiate and see if we could come to some agreement that we could all work with. And so it's taken a long time and a lot of work, but we've kept communication going, we've kept lines open, I think each party's maybe, for lack of a better term, had to hold their nose just a little bit, but we came to something that we felt was reasonable, that was in the best interest of the public, that was in the best interest of the land, that was in the best interest of the transportation system. We spent a lot of time visiting with the residents of the area on the West Desert in numerous meetings. We spent time driving each and every road along with other roads that were the county was abandoning claims on as part of this settlement, so that we could come to something that was reasonable but we could agree on and make progress, and we're comfortable with that.
Why don't you just use a USGS map that predates 1976? And if the road's there and it's listed, doesn't that make it a county road?
Yeah, certainly we can use some of those maps, Chad, but there's other questions besides is the road on the map. And some of the other questions we have to look at is what was the scope of that road? What was it used for? How wide was it? What are the uses of those roads? We have to answer many other questions besides just if the line on the map was there. And this is some of the discussions that we had to have. I just want to be able to congratulate Juab County because they were able to stay with us on the various field trips to be able to answer that question of scope. How wide, where did it go, how far? And this is the kind of conversation we need to have. Also, I wanted to congratulate the environmental community because they were with us as well. And Judge Campbell was able to then conclude and find for the settlement that we arrive at a conclusion at, and that is that these roads will remain open to the public while we safeguard some of the interests of the public in terms of the public land. So we're able to get two things, is the proverbial win-win. We're able to win for safeguarding the environment and yet provide access to the public and access many of those canyons up the Deep Creek Mountains today.
Why was this so important to Juab County to abandon some of the roads and claims to maintain these roads? What was the strategic or the necessary value for the county?
Well, there were several reasons. One, access for the residents out there who had traditionally used those roads to maintain their lifestyle and their livelihood. And then the other was the beauty of the canyon. These Deep Creek Mountains are people don't realize these are alpine, beautiful mountains when you get up in there. As we've hiked those mountains, we really felt strong that there should be a way for people to see those mountains without walking or riding a horse. And we wanted to get a way to have a motorized vehicle up there. And as we've met with the people out on the West Desert and got their feelings, and we've had several meetings with them, and they worked with us really well, and they were able to give up some roads, you know, when two roads went to the same place or had been created by four-wheelers or something. And we gave up some roads at the base of the Deep Creeks, and we did give up Trout Creek Road to get access to Tom's Canyon and Granite Canyon. But there's been a lot of people involved. We hiked that with BLM people and got their feelings on it. Talked about how wide the road should be maintained and how often and when it should be open, when it should be closed. And we feel really good about the process. And we could not have done it without the state and their attorneys. Harry Suval and Roger Fairbanks were the lead on this, and they just stayed with us and kept us informed and went out there with us and drove the roads, and we're just happy with the outcome of it.
Director Palma, why couldn't this just been a Title V instead of being an RS2477? I want to give both of you an opportunity to answer, only one before the commercial break. We'll start with you.
You know, I can't speak for the county in terms of the question, why not a Title V or an RS2477? The difference, I can tell you what the difference is, and that is under adjudication of an RS2477, a judge pronounces that this answers this question, so it's ordered by the court, which we cannot change unless the court changes that. A Title V, it is an administrative adjudication in a sense that for the foreseeable future, I think we stand by a Title V, but it could come a point in time that it could change versus a RS2477 adjudication. It cannot change other than by the court.
Okay, so that would have kept the future in your hands as opposed to the county's hands. I know that you have an important answer to that, either one of you, and we will answer that right after we come back from this commercial break. You're watching The County Seat. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
The best part about raising children here in Vernal and the Uinta Basin is just the smaller community that makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
So we packed up our 3 kids and here we came to Uinta County, and what a great place it was. What a great move. Great schools, great outdoor activities, just a really great place to raise your family.
My father, he was an engineer for Chevron, retired 39 some odd years. And Jeff, my husband, it's the same way. He's always worked in the oil and gas, always had a job here. And with that industry, when it does good, the whole valley thrives.
The Uinta Basin's been fantastic in supporting what we've tried to do both as a business and also in the development of mountain bike trails and the sport of mountain biking.
I'm able to run up to a beautiful place like this and spend some good quality time. It's one of the big reasons why I live where I live.
And that makes it just a wonderful place to have little ones like this.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City, Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit ScenicSouthernUtah.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic Southern Utah.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking today about RS2477 rights-of-way, a topic we have addressed many times over the last 3 years on the county seat, but this one with a little bit of a different twist. We had asked Director Palma about the, why not just a Title V versus an RS2477, and that really, what sounds like either way was fine with the BLM, but the court adjudicated it. So now let's throw the question to the county. Why was it so important not to take a Title V and to get RS2477?
We've had some discussion earlier on the program and that about RS2477, what it is. Quickly, a point of RS2477 is we live in a society that keeps records. We get a deed when we buy a house, we get a piece of paper when we buy water or whatever. That never happened with RS2477. It was a self-executing law. And so there's nothing recorded anywhere. But it was a right granted by the federal government. And so from a county perspective, we believe that that's a right, and the director's absolutely correct when he says it's permanent. We like to say that a Title V is Mother May I, RS2477 says it's mine. And that's kind of the issue. And I don't want that to sound adversarial because it's not. But we believe that it's a right that was given to us by the federal government. We now have a record that can be looked at on record, and it's final. We know what's going to happen. We don't have to close the road in the future. We don't have to reclaim it if something happens. We have certainty on what happens with that.
For the residents of Juab County, is that finality important?
It definitely is, yes. We're just relieved that that's final now. The judge has signed the order. And we can, as a county, we know where we're headed with those roads. We know what the residents out there can expect. We have an obligation. We're going to have to spend some money out there and maintain those roads and police them. But we're willing to do that. And we're going to have to encourage our people to stay on the road and use the turnarounds and not run out on the wilderness study area. And we'll do that the best of our ability. But we're just happy that it's final, and now we know where we're headed with it.
What lessons were learned?
Well, there's many lessons to be learned, but I think one of the critical ones is that this process can be long, it can be an arduous journey, but I think that it's critical that all of us stay together, always communicating, always talking to one another. I think it's one of the most important lessons. I think that any issue, including RS2477, can be resolved, and that is one of the lessons learned, can be resolved if all the parties stay at the table. It's not easy, but it's worth it at the other end.
Now, in the past, we've looked at some of these other cases. I go back to the Washington County land bill, some of the process going on in Emery County, and some of the road issues in Kane County. And the environmental community gets involved. Usually they start with the litigation that challenges the process. And then somewhere in the middle, some of these groups have had a tendency just to become stubborn and uncooperative. They back out of the process. That didn't happen here. How come?
Oh, they were at the table and in our negotiations, and for the most part very cooperative, and we're glad we were able to keep them somewhat on board. I'm not sure they're happy with all of it, but it was maybe a landmark case in the fact that we worked together with the environmental community, and we did give up some roads, some secondary and duplicate roads, and we kept only those that the residents actually needed out there.
I think that's an important part, is they came back to the table and asked more from us. And our commissioners and that looked at it carefully and said, we're willing to give a little more if we can keep everybody at the table. And I applaud the BLM. They've been great to work with. I think it's just really been a cooperative effort. But we had to give a little more than we wanted. We gave up claim on some roads that we weren't real excited about, but we felt like it was worth it to keep the process going and keep the environmental community and others with us to try and make it to the end, which we did.
Well, we did get only 2 of the roads we initially, we gave up Trout Creek Road, so it's still horse or pedestrian traffic, but the other 2 we can go in motorized.
Well, it sounds like it's a good place to be in. We will follow up with our final thoughts on this subject after this commercial break. You're watching The County Seat. Our topic today, RS2477. You still got enough time to call your friends and tell them, hey, this is a good conversation. Tune in. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
There's no need to travel far to find that perfect family adventure. Juab County. It'll change your family forever.
Rediscover your sense of adventure. Welcome to San Juan County. Discover the past. A change of place. Utah's San Juan County, where life is elevated.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Anything worth doing in this quiet little town?
You strike me as the kind of girl that likes a manicure and a massage.
I was hoping for something a little more vigorous.
Vigorous, I can do.
And I thought you'd be riding side saddle.
What? I'm gonna regret this.
There's no need to travel far to find that perfect family adventure. Juab County. It'll change your family forever.
Welcome back to the County Seat. This has been a really good, it's nice to be able to talk about RS2477 for once on this program that has a happy ending. This is like a big day for us. So I would like to just kind of ask a couple of follow-up questions. Is this process you guys just did, is this repeatable? Can we do this again?
I do. I think it's transferable. In fact, we're doing some of the same conversations in Iron County at a much larger scale than just the roads that we're talking about. And again, there is a matter of getting all the right people around the table and being able to have a conversation. So I think that this model that we just finished in Juab County can be a model that we can do in other parts of the state of Utah and be able to resolve once and for all some of these concerns with RS2477. I, as the BLM, am a proponent for this kind of a conversation, as being able to resolve that. So I think it is repeatable, this model, and it can be done.
And so you're not afraid of non-controversial roads going to county title, deeded title?
No, I'm not afraid of that process. I think that all of us can agree that there's many roads out there that have been there for a long, long time. There's enough evidence, enough information. As long as we can resolve the question of scope, then I think we can move forward and then spend our time and our limited resources on those roads that we need to spend some time on, which is the D roads.
What are your thoughts on it?
The county's position has always been that we shouldn't have to argue over all of these roads. As Director Palma mentioned, the B roads, long time, a lot of evidence, a lot of things like that. We ought to have a method that we can come to agreement on some of the roads where there is no controversy. We know there's going to be roads we're not going to agree on. We know there's going to be roads we're going to have to pursue and we're going to have to maybe fight on. We know that there are some that we're claiming that maybe aren't going to cut the muster. But we believe we ought to be able to narrow this down and spend our time on the roads where there is controversy.
Commissioner Wynn?
Well, I agree with that. There are a lot of roads, you know, that are graded, they're oiled, and have a bar pit, and you know, we can just look at those and know, and we ought to be able to settle on them, and we would like to see that get done, and this could be a model for something like that to happen.
Could you just do this across the state all in one sweep and just say, okay, all the B roads, and with the exception of 1, 2, 3, 4, the other thousands of them are okay?
You know, right about now, our attorneys are probably thinking, whoa, what's is this going to work or not? But I believe if we look at it from the management side of all of this public lands, it can be done and it should be done. I realize that there's more homework that our attorneys need to make, and for us in the BLM, certainly our solicitors, which Jim Carcutt was a tremendous asset to this process of the Deep Creeks, and the Department of Justice gets involved. But I believe that there is enough information for us to be able to move in a cooperative way, and I really do believe that good faith negotiations with all the right parties will lead us to success at the other end.
Have you got another set of roads that you're about ready to file, or are you going on the speaking circuit to tell other counties how to do it? What are your plans?
Well, of course, we're part of the statewide suit that has been filed, and we're supporting that effort. But there's been discussion among the commissioners, and Commissioner Wynn can address that more than I can, about seeing if we can't come to some agreement on some of these roads. And you know, we'd like to. We don't consider ourselves a model. We think that it's been a great process. We've had great partners, and we want to continue to thank them. But we think we ought to be able to settle some of these roads, but we need to protect our interests in all of the roads.
If you'd like to find out more information, I suppose you can go to our website. Do you have anything on the BLM website that talks about RS2477 in this process?
We do. For the audience, I mean, they can go to our website, blm.gov, be able to look in our webpage and see some of this information, in fact, the ones that we're talking about, as well as other information on RS2477. And I would encourage people to go there to our website. But I just want to say from the BLM side is that we are working hard to be able to communicate and work with all the counties and the state to see if we can resolve once and for all RS2477. I think there's more than one model than just litigation to resolve this issue. And clearly this is an example when there's more than one way to resolve this situation.
Remember that local government is where your life happens. You need to be involved in this process. You need to tell your friends about it. And you need to really understand these issues, whether it be RS2477 or ag lands or centrally assessed taxes. These all have an impact on your life. The better informed you are, the better of a constituent you will be to your local leaders. So get involved. We'll look for you next week on the county seat. Thanks for joining us.